Hey, what's up? John Sonmez here from simpleprogrammer.com. So I got a question, I got an email about being a finisher is hurting me. That was the subject line. And I actually recorded this video, but I recorded a really long version of this video and I got penalized for doing so because my little mic, it actually ran out of batteries and cut off my audio about halfway through. So I'm re-recording a more succinct version of this. But the good news is that I've had more time to gather my thoughts on the subject and to bring it down to just the core elements that will be beneficial in this case. So if you're struggling with being a finisher and you feel like it might be hurting you and you're trying to balance some of the various elements and passions that you have in life and hobbies, I'm going to help you out today. So Tim asked me, he says, "Hey John, love the video so much. It's been helping me in so many ways in my life. I've replaced listening to music with just watching your videos because they contain so much practical information. I'd rather listen to that than something that doesn't benefit me. Take that, Nickelback." Yeah, all right. Shouldn't be listening to Nickelback anyway. But all right, I really want to adopt the finisher mindset that you talked about in the Bulldog video. What are you talking about? The Bulldog video? Oh, the Bulldog video. Let's bring it up there. That's the video where people ask me, how do you become a fucking Bulldog? And I tell you how. So you definitely want to check that one out. But he says, the problem is there's just limited amount of time in my day and I can't make progress in everything simultaneously. I've been working on two things, business and programming. Well, you could just make programming your business, man. All right, because I need realistically a solid 4 days of programming per week, that leaves me only 2 to my business when I also have other responsibilities because I'm also working a full-time job. Right now, I'm thinking to drop my programming and work exclusively on the business, but I don't want to be that guy that gives up when things get stressful. I don't want to be that guy either. I'm always struggling with being that guy. Man, I don't want to be that guy. Here's the thing. This is what I'd say, all right, and I've said this before, but you didn't hear me because my microphone ran out. But it essentially comes down to this. There's two main ways to tackle life and to tackle things in life, and you can sort of decide on how to do this. And I've gone back and forth between the two, and right now I feel like I'm stuck into one way of doing things, which is balancing a lot of stuff and making progress on each of them. Now, both of them can be effective. I've been super effective in my life by having a lot of plates spinning and keeping them all spinning and choosing what are my primary plates carefully and making progress in those areas and shifting my focus, right? But there's another way, which is to just like have one big plate spinning and you just focus on that one plate. So I'll give you an example of two different ways to do something. And what I'm doing, I'm actually learning Italian. So I did a video on how I'm learning Italian. And I'm not doing it the most efficient way. And some of you have pointed that out and I totally understand it. What I'm doing is I'm doing like a 30-minute a day audio tape program called Pimsleur. There's like 5 levels. So it's about like 6 months of 30 minutes a day. It doesn't actually take you 30 minutes a day. It takes you about an hour a day. But hey, you know what? It's not super effective, okay? I'm making progress. I'm happy with the progress I'm making. When I go to Italy, I'll be able to have some conversations. That's all that I'm after. But I've got a lot of other stuff going on in my life, so I can't just devote a large amount of time to learning Italian. Or I could, but it doesn't make sense, and I don't want to in this case. I'd rather just do this, torture, I'll just say torture, a little bit every single day, all right? Now, not the best and most effective way, right? The other approach I could take, which some of you suggested, and I agree, what I could do is I could go for 6 weeks, let's say 6 weeks, maybe it's longer, but around 6 weeks, and I could totally immerse myself in the Italian language. There's places you can go that actually do this, classes where you're there 8 hours a day, right? I could come up with my own program and be studying. I could be talking to tutors online. There's plenty of you in the audience that are Italian that would talk to me on Skype all day long. So I could do that, immerse myself 100% for 6 weeks, read everything in Italian that I can, right? Or even just move to Italy for 6 weeks and just do this. And I would probably come out a lot better learning Italian. It'd be easier. I'd be just focused on the thing, right? And it probably would pay off in the long run. So those are the kind of two ways that you can approach life, right? And there's usually there's some balance in between the two. But the reason why I'm telling you this and I'm laying out these kind of philosophies is so that you can understand that there's multiple ways to skin this cat, right? You can still be a bulldog either way, right? Being the bulldog or being the finisher has nothing to do with how much stuff you're doing at any given time. It has to do with finishing what you started. It has to do with attacking what you're going after, right? And being relentless in that, and having the drive and determination to go forward, even when you don't feel like it, even when you don't feel motivated anymore, not to be that guy that gives up when things get stressful. I think that's where it is. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't give things up either. So what I'm saying here, and I did the same thing with book, right? You could do the same thing. I'll just real quickly give you an example. Focus book. You could say, I'm going to write this book in 30 days, and I'm just going to write every single day. I'm writing for 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, just focus writing. I know some writers that write like that and have written books like that. Myself, I wrote my soft skills book in about 2 to 3 hours a day for about 3 months. And then my new book, The Complete Software Developer's Career Guide, what I did with that one is I wrote it in about 6 months for an hour a day. Okay, so but I made those my priorities. And that's the thing I have to tell you about. So whatever you do, okay, the big mistake that people make, why they don't finish, why they aren't a bulldog, why they don't get these things done, is that they don't have the priorities and they don't have these projects. So you could be all in, right, like I said, with a book and just focus on writing the book, and you kind of drop everything else. And that's fine. That's one approach. It's the super focused, hyper focused approach. But if you choose the other approach, like I said, I got my books written. I did them, and I always do projects, and I get them done. And I get a lot of stuff done, but at any given time, I have one major priority, one major project, and I usually have 1 or 2 secondary ones. And I know what my major one is, and that's what I work on first, and everything else gives way to that, okay? So that's one way to structure your life in order to make sure that you can maximize what you can get done in a day. Now, the other things I'd say here, a couple of quick gut checks here. One of them, look at how you're spending your time and make sure that you don't have a lot of waste in there, and cut that out. You need to optimize the amount of time that you have. Second, you need to know whether you are pushing it to the levels that you need to or not, right? Only you know the answer to this question. So you have to honestly evaluate yourself. Other people can't. It's not how much you produce, it's how much you know, right? I talked about in videos doing 9 or above. I want to make a t-shirt that says pound 9 or above. That's kind of funny, pound 9 or above. But anyway, I want to make a t-shirt that says that, because that's an important concept. Like, you have to judge your own potential, and you know whether you're living up to it. I've had days where it looked like I've just kicked ass, but I knew that I didn't do what I could have done. So not that you can always perform at that level every single day, but you should strive to. Why not? Why not set that as a goal in life? So the other thing I'll say here is there's a couple other things just from a strategic viewpoint here. If you feel like you could focus, you could drop the programming and you could just focus on the business aspect, and you could get to the point where you could quit your job. Now, that might make sacrifices. I always ask this question, how bad do you want it? Because that's what it comes down to, is how bad do you want it? And if you want it bad enough, then you could do this potentially, but can you cut your expenses down? Can you live off of rice and beans or whatever, basically buy your freedom, reach terminal velocity and get out of orbit, and then you buy back an extra 8 hours a day, and now you've got more time, you've got less pressure, you've got more stuff that you can accomplish in the day because you don't have to go and work for someone else. And so now you could work on the business more, or you could incorporate programming again, or whatever you want to do. You've got more time. So that's one option. If you don't have that option, if you're not planning on going down that path, I'll offer you another suggestion, which is to time slice differently, not based on the day and maybe not even based on the week, but even bigger intervals, right? So sometimes what I'll do is I'll alternate between things to slice them up so that I can, so for example, if you tried to do 10 different hobbies and you try to do it within a 24-hour period, you'd be slicing things pretty thin, right? It's really hard. If you try to do it within a 48-hour period, you could do 10 things by doing 5 one day and 5 the next day, and every 48 hours is your interval or cycle. You could do this on a week period. Well, let's say, a week period, and you'd be doing an average of like 1 point something things per day, maybe like, 3 days of the week, you'd be doing 2 things, and 5 days or 4 days of the week, you'd be doing 4 things. Something like that. Yes, I think that math works, okay? Or you could time slice it against a 10-day cycle. That'd probably be smarter in that case, or a 2-week or a month cycle. So what you might do, one strategy you could employ when you feel like you're overwhelmed, you got too much stuff going on, is what if you did it on a monthly or whatever interval you can? What if you said for 1 month, for month A, right, in July, I am going to, all the time that I have after work, I'm going to devote to business, to my business, to grow my business. And maybe I'll take 10% of the time to programming just to keep that going. But 90% of the time, it'll be business. And then you said after July, in August, I'm going to flip it and I'm going to do 90% of programming and just 10% just to keep the business running. But I'm not going to focus on business stuff, right? Or you could do it at the quarter level, right? So these are ways to time slice things so that you can get more stuff done. So ultimately, you've got to figure out, you've got to make priorities, and you might have to drop some stuff as well. So you've only got so much time. You can either drop stuff, and you should probably do a combination of these things, but you can either drop stuff, okay, or you can slice things at different intervals in order to have enough time to work on each thing, right? There's probably like 100 things I'd love to do with my life that I'm not going to be able to do, so I've prioritized and I have slice things into intervals so I can accomplish that and make progress on those things. Now, with all that said, if I could go back in time, right? Not that I regret things. I don't really live a life of regret. I don't believe in that. But if I were structuring my life knowing what I know now, right? As a young person, I would probably try to focus more. I would try to not have as many plates spinning, not only for the lack of stress, but because I feel like I could just drive. Sometimes I think about this and I'm like, what if, and I may do this, I'm leaning more towards this, right? Right now it's hard to do. When you've got multiple things going, it's hard to do until you get autopilot going on some of these things. It's hard to do this. But what if I devoted my whole life, my whole time, right, for some period of time to just doing YouTube? Right? I created 4 different channels. Instead of doing 2 videos or 3 videos a day, I did like 10 videos a day, and I upped the production quality on some of these things, and I just focused on optimizing for SEO and creating all this content, and I just wanted to just master YouTube as much as possible. How successful would I be? I'd probably be pretty dang successful. It probably would be a good idea, right? So I'd love to do something like that. I never have the ability to do that with things in my life, with projects, because I've got so much stuff going on, right? There's so many pieces going on, and a lot of it's voluntary. I put it on myself, but if I could re-architect and restructure, I try to be more project focused and try to be more focused in general, and to try and I would not have let all this other stuff that I have to keep going get started. I would have tried to think about running my life that way, and I'm probably going to move more towards that direction because I think that is a more effective way. Now, with that said, there are some things that it is nice to benefit from the cumulative effort of making little steps every day, doing a couple of videos every day, right? Is moving me forward. Writing a little bit every day, doing my fitness and all that stuff. It does move you forward over time. So there's different phases, there's different seasons in life, and you gotta figure out where you are. So that's a bunch of philosophy for you to decide. But ultimately, I'll say it comes down to this, right? Think about this stuff. Make a plan, all right? And then execute on that plan like a motherfucker. That's what being a bulldog is about. It's about executing on that plan, right? And if you set yourself up for failure by trying to do too many things, fine. Scale it down and make a new plan and execute on that plan, right? Like, it's gonna take some give and take. It's not gonna be perfect, and it's gonna feel fucking messy as hell. I am so OCD, would love to have my life so organized and everything working out so smoothly, and I'm just working on this project, and I know I'm spending my time the right way, and it's not so stressful with all these things going on. I would love to have that happen. It's not gonna happen. Life is messy, and you just gotta say, it's not the OCD perfection that I want, but I'm just gonna plow on, right, and get through and get this stuff done and make progress. And that's what it is. It's always this battle. So I hope that helps you, Tim. And yeah, I think that it's good what you're doing. Okay, just Don't let, maybe cut some stuff down, maybe pare it out, figure out what the plan is. If you're going to go full-time business, great, but have a plan. Let it get yourself free, hit that terminal velocity so you can have more time, right? Have a real solid plan, a real way that this is going to happen. And think about also one last thing. Why are you doing the things that you're doing? Why do you need to do programming? Why do you need to do business? If you don't have the why, it's going to be really hard to have the motivation, and it's going to be really hard to prioritize and know what you should do. All right, Tim, that's all I got for you. If you like this video, if you haven't subscribed already to this channel, I don't know what's going on, click that subscribe button, click the bell, and then whatever in order to make sure that you don't miss any videos. I'll talk to you next time.